I had a fun little conversation with somebody today about Satan with a friend of mine who was asking, like, why is it that Satan can't be forgiven, or is it that he won't ask for forgiveness? And I thought this was an interesting question because there's not a lot of speak on why Satan did what he did, other than we know that it's because of pride, or why the fallen angels even decided to follow Satan in that regard by thinking that his path would lead to him being successful against the creator, the one who created them. And I know a lot of us would say, like, he was stupid, he was dumb, but the thing is, a lot of us rebel against God to this day and think that we could hide our sin from God. So it makes sense that Satan, in his prideful way and in all his power, would do the same thing and be able to convince a third of the angels to do so as well. So one of the aspects of or one of the ideas is that, first of all, we think that angels' wills are absolute. So we're thinking like there is their will, seeing that they wanted to be prideful and to rebel, was an absolute state of being that there was no like a feeling of regret or a feeling of sorrowfulness, because in their state of mind they have an absolute train of thought, if that makes sense. Like, their will is an absolute type of will. So if they decided to be evil, that was something that they went with. If they decided to not rebel in their state, that was something that they stuck to. And so in that judgment, there was no way for them to even feel remorseful or regret what they did. But they do still have a reverence and awe, a respect for the Creator. Of course, they have no choice. And that's kind of a soft type of argument there. The one that I tend to gravitate to the most is that they are outside of time. The things that happened outside of time is where yesterday, today, and tomorrow all are held in the now. So anything that happens in the now will always happen and has always happened. So if Satan rebelled against God outside of time and space, in a different dimension, in the face, in the presence of God, it has always happened or always will happen. And so there is no part in time for him to ask for forgiveness, because he is always rebelling, if that makes sense. In my head, it makes sense, and it's kind of an interesting concept, because if you think about it, it's the same thing with the whole concept. I believe there's a concept of the Garden of Eden where there was two trees, where you have the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. The tree of knowledge of good and evil was knowledge that nobody wanted. It was more like, I'll give you this. It was subjective knowledge that maybe my good is the actual good and not good. God's standard of good is good. That's the knowledge that we receive from the book, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, is that it allowed us to portray God in a way that we can make moral judgments on things that were insufficient, or even act them out. Because Adam and Eve did have an understanding of good and evil, but now with this, they had imagination, and an understanding that their standard of good, what could be like God, if not supersede or superimpose or overthrow God's judgment, because then they could judge God. Now, I may have butchered that a little bit, but in my head, it kind of makes sense. You have to understand, these concepts I think of are throughout the day. So when I'm trying to regurgitate them back, or when I'm trying to portray them from my thoughts, it comes out in like little spurts and stuff. But anyway, I digress. So the other thing that the angels have to deal with or why the angels don't ask for, or don't get forgiveness, or don't ask for forgiveness, is that they have absolute 100% knowledge of God's existence, and they are in His presence. So there's no deception. There is no, I didn't know that this was the way. They have the revelation, the God, the word right there. So in their sin, there is no second chances, because it's like, I'm here. I created you. You see me face to face. And you chose to rebel. So now you have chosen your path to always have been to rebel. And so there's no redemptive path for angels to be forgiven or to ask for forgiveness, because they were in the presence of God, in the cosmic courtroom, so to speak, and rebelled against the cosmic God. So therefore, there's eternally ejected, rejected, and sent away, fallen, because of the cosmic treason that they betrayed, Satan, following Satan. And so there is no second chances. And so in their minds, I believe that they are like, okay, well, if we can't overthrow God, we can't kill God, so we're going to take it out on his creation, who He loves. So they can't kill God, so what do? They try to hurt Him. But I thought it was an interesting thought exercise, and I may have butchered some of my points of view. Some of this stuff, it's like, I'm tired too. But tell me what you think. Why do you think that angels or Satan is not forgiven? Is it because he can't be forgiven, though God can do anything? Or is it because we're at the time and place that He did do so, which outside of time and in the dimension in the kingdom of heaven? Or is it because He doesn't want to? You have a blessed day.